Today you had a meeting, a long meeting with our foreign minister Popovsky. What was the discussion?
Well, we have very friendly and good relations between Macedonia and Israel. And it's not my first time. I was here many years ago, and I'm very glad to come back and to have the opportunity to review together with the minister our very good relations, bilateral, excellent relations actually, with the great work that is being done by the ambassadors. Our ambassador here, Mr. Dan Oryan, is doing a fantastic job. Even though he's a non-resident ambassador here, but doing great job. And also your ambassador in Israel, Mr. Avirovich. So it was a very nice occasion to review the bilateral collaboration, many fields, like for instance the Holocaust memorial in your country. That the project that is being done in Bitula with the old cemetery of the Jewish community, Jewish community that stayed here, was hosted here in Macedonia for 500 years until the Holocaust. So it's very important. I was yesterday very much impressed to hear how many children are visiting the Holocaust Museum here in Skopje. Now, with the minister, we indeed discussed also strategic issues of the Middle East and of the Balkans as well. After all, we are in adjacent areas, Middle East and the Balkans. We have very much in common. We share and see eye to eye on many issues like the war against extremism, against terror in Europe, in the Middle East, etc. We indeed understand the role of Macedonia in this region, and being a very friendly country, of course, always try to develop and enhance and expand our good relations and collaboration in many fields. We are very much interested, and it is very important for both sides to increase the volume of trade between the countries, to expand our economic cooperation. As you know, Israel is a very advanced country as far as high-tech is concerned, as medicine is concerned, as agriculture is concerned, as innovation is concerned, and we are ready to share it with Macedonia and to help and exchange views and knowledge on everything in order to expand our good relations. We are very much hopeful that it will be possible, for instance, to have direct flights. We are missing very much. Macedonia is a beautiful country. Israelis are good tourists and they are looking for new destinations. I'm sure if we had direct flights from Tel Aviv to Skopje, we will have many tourists and of course Macedonians to go and visit holy places in the Holy Land in Israel. Very important, and one has to work on, and of course not to mention cultural ties, etc., which are important also as far as the relations within the nations. It's not only interest and economy and the strategic matters, it's also the relations between the Macedonian people and the Jewish people, which last for centuries and are important to be encouraged and to for the benefit, mutual benefit of both countries and people. This is the reason, and in this respect, the talk with the foreign minister, which I was very happy to see him again, because he was with your prime minister about a year ago in Israel, and to see him now and to be able to discuss all those things and to think and try to find ways and means how to even deepen and further our good relations.
You mentioned direct flight from Tel Aviv to Skopje. Is that preparing already? At what level is that? Is there any plan for recently to be done, the direct flight? And in what other fields you have? You mentioned that our governmental representatives were last year in Israel, and they represented possibilities to invest in Macedonia, etc., etc. What other levels, what other fields you can see the cooperation between the State of Israel and the Republic of Macedonia?
Well, about the flights, sorry, about the flights, definitely it's a matter of discussions and checking and investigating exactly. We don't have yet an agreement, but we are very seriously working on it. And hopefully we'll find the ways how, for instance, about national carrier, that you're not having a national carrier, we are having a national carrier. These kind of legal and technical and commercial things that can be solved and should be solved. And I can't tell you when is it going to happen, but definitely we are working seriously on this possibility, because, as I said, it's very, very, very important for development of relations, economic as well as touristic, of course. Now, other matters that we've been discussing, you see, governments are not investing. Our government is not investing. These are companies are investing. The question is how to attract, for instance, Israeli companies to invest here. And in this respect, government can and should be helpful. So we are doing all sorts of seminars and meetings and visits for companies in order to expose this country. Not everyone in Israel, in the business community, knows exactly what are the possibilities here in Macedonia. You are a small and flourishing country, and you need more exposure to the business community in order to be able for them to know in what they can and should be investing. We think that there is a chance and there is a possibility. We just have to encourage. This is the role of governments, to encourage, to push, to help, to get together. And this is what our ambassador here, Mr. Ryan, is doing his very best in trying to bring companies with potential to come and, first of all, to get to know and to see for themselves, and then to realize what is possible to be done. This is something that the governments should be doing. We have to do it, because if we will not do it, companies themselves are not going to do it. We have to give them the push to do it.
How does your country seize on the refugee crisis from Syria through Turkey and then Greece, Macedonia, Serbia to the Europe?
Yes, of course. Syria is on our border, and we are following very closely the tragedy, the terrible tragedy that is happening there, and also its implications for Europe, and especially for the countries here, to Macedonia, that became unwillingly, you became crossing land for so many refugees, which is both quite difficult for you and will be difficult for Europe. So also in this respect, we've been talking about it, and we are thinking of ways how to really help in a way, or how to share some knowledge with you in order to maybe to facilitate it for Macedonia to be able to tackle this problem of, for instance, how to identify the people who are coming here. They are coming without documentation. So the question is, in what technological ways it would be possible to ease it up for you, to help it a little bit for you, and maybe also for other countries who are facing this problem of how to tackle, how to deal with this tragic flow of people. It's on the one hand humanitarian crisis. On the other hand, it's a problem. It's a problem for countries like Macedonia. Very, very difficult problem. Not only Macedonia, but Macedonia is one of the leading countries who has suddenly to face such a problem that no one predicted before. And in a way, that's the gate to Europe. And what Macedonia will be doing is in a way going to affect the whole of Europe.
And how do you estimate the cooperation between our country and the Jewish community in Macedonia?
Well, of course, the Jewish, as I mentioned, the Jews were here for 500 years. The Sephardic Jewish community that perished in the Holocaust in Treblinka, of course. But there is now there is a small community, but very much dedicated community, very loyal to Macedonia as well as to Judaism. the fact that there is. I went yesterday for the first time. I was very glad. I'm very glad that this time, for the first time, I had the opportunity to see the museum in the center of town. I was very glad to hear that as many as 50,000 people, 40,000, 50,000 people are visiting this museum. And especially the fact that 25,000 of them are children, school children who are visiting. It's very important. Not only it's the global understanding of the Holocaust is also maybe it's the best cure and advice against racism, against chauvinism, against all the evil in the world. If you study about the Holocaust, about what happened to this particular Jewish community here in Macedonia, you will understand many other things in other situations around the world. And not only to Jews. And this is why this is a global understanding thing. Of course, they should be encouraged. We have this project in Bitula to expose the hilarious, the very proud past history of the Jews of Macedonia before the Holocaust in place like Bitula, that maybe many people don't know about it. And if you ask in Europe and even in Israel, not many people know about it. But there was a very proud and important community there for centuries. So to expose and to preserve the cemetery, this very, very old cemetery, is also something that is both, homage to the people that were murdered, that were killed, but also and very important educational stuff for everyone, Jew, non-Jew, any religion, doesn't matter, any human being. So this is, we respect very much the attempts that are being made here in order to preserve this Jewish heritage from the Macedonian point of view, as part of the history of this country, of these people, of the tolerance, of the living together of different communities, of different religion in harmony. This is very important. This is very important and goes beyond the question of Judaism as such. And therefore, we are ready, and I also told the people at the museum we'll be very happy for them to collaborate with Yad Vashem in Israel, which is the #1 institution in the world, not only about the preserving the memory of the Holocaust, but also as a international teaching place on racial hatred, on chauvinism, on all the bad things that we have to fight against in the world. It's not going to be, it's not something that you can do today or tomorrow, but it's something that we have to teach the young generations everywhere, not only in Macedonia, but everywhere, and not only in Israel. And in this respect, we can continue, and I hope we shall be doing more projects together.
Thank you very much for your time for this interview.
Welcome, pleasure.